welcome back to Nedok Podcast, episode 30, and this Friday the 13th special, where we will cover 1981's Friday the 13th Part 2. How is everyone doing today? It's been a little more than 24 hours since we last recorded, but we exchanged tagger with Zombie.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Nothing unusual or remarkable.
Okay. And you?
Annoyed as fucking shit.
Nice. How are you feeling?
Really fucking tired. Feels like I had a train dropped on me. But besides that, I'm pretty okay. So, have we catched anything the past 24 hours?
Yeah, I watched something. I finally got around to watch, fuck is it called? The Happening.
The M. Night Shyamalan
Probably,
movie.
I don't fucking know. So the whole world's population, or well, not the whole world, the US population is, all of a sudden people are acting really weird and they end their lives in different ways, and no one knows why. And we get to follow this little like family thingy. See them survive for an hour and a half of a movie. I thought it would be better, so I'm slightly disappointed. I mean, if you want to throw away an hour and a half and watch something, go ahead, do it. But I would say watch something else, because this was kind of like watching a bad zombie movie. A fun thing that I noticed though was that the lead actress is the same woman that plays the lead actress in New Girl, a fairly big comedy series that's still going. It was kind of nice seeing her in something else for a change. And I watched half of The Bad Seed from 2018. Then I kind of like fell asleep somewhere there.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've seen The Happening as well, and that the movie you described is the M. Night Shyamalan horror flick from, I think it came out 2008.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it two or three times. It's better than its reputation, because a lot of people think it's just pure shit. I think it's pretty okay for what it is. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, the concept is interesting, most definitely, but I think they could have done it better. And it's, in my opinion, it's very slow, and it's like anticlimactic with, oh, it's so fucking slow. Some part was like, oh yeah, something's happening, it's pretty good. And then it's just like back to being pretty fucking slow, and it's like struggling with keeping awake.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it drags on a bit at a couple of points in the movie.
Oh yeah, it really does.
Isn't it worse if you have a good movie concept and do absolute shit with said concept, rather than having a bad concept that produces a bad movie. Because if you have a good concept and you do nothing with it, it's just, it had potential and you can feel it with your bare hands, but you can't grasp it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true.
Okay. Zombie, have you catch anything?
Well, I guess you discussed it in the other episode, but
No.
I did watch it with you guys.
No. We have not
2.
watched that. No, we have not watched that yet. No.
Denied.
Yeah, exactly. We have not watched it. I'm saving that for the next recording.
Okay. I have
I actually cut that part out when we talked briefly about it.
Then. Okay, then. I have seen Fifth Element like last week or the week before that.
That's a good movie.
Indeed.
Yeah, Luc Besson.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis and what's her face? Mila Jovovich.
I think very old man.
And what's his name again? The black comedy guy. Jesus, what's his name?
I can only think of him, Ruby. Or is it him you're thinking about?
Yeah, the radio host.
Yeah.
Okay,
I love him.
I wanted to say Samuel L. Jackson, but that's definitely not him.
No. Chris Rock.
Yeah, I love that character.
Yeah.
And the whole movie in itself, too.
I haven't seen that movie for... I think it's around 20 years.
Old.
Yes, I am. I got it on DVD, but I haven't gotten around to watch it yet. Or re-watch it, rather.
That makes me feel very young, but I also feel very old at the same time. Because I'm almost 20, so...
You're almost 20, I'm pretty sure you're over 20.
I'm over 20, but I'm like 2 years away from being 20 if you reverse it.
Wow.
Logic.
Logic doesn't exist here.
My math is
Logic,
suck.
big on.
I mean, we have people in the fucking Vietnam War. Logic doesn't exist.
By the way, I think I know where Ogge is, but we can take that off air.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, any recently things you have watched, Josef?
No. I haven't had the time to watch anything the past 24 hours. Besides the main feature.
No, it's called You Aren't Trying Hard Enough.
No, it's called Being Old and Tired.
If I could make 600 movies in 6 months, then you would be able to at least watch 2 movies in 24 hours.
Well, you can't compare yourself to other mortal beings, you know, that's not fair.
Wait, we're mortal? I didn't know this. Fuck.
There must be some kind of logical explanation to you being able to watch 600 movies in like half a year.
Logic. Oh fuck. Okay, retake on that one. Logic, not really.
Like I said, Logic be gone.
Be gone,
Life
thought.
before streaming.
What did you say, Zombie?
Be gone, thought.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, Fatima's Prime.
What?
Fatima's Prime.
Oh.
Well,
I just thought like the meme thought, and at the same time it sounds like actually thinking thought.
no. Fat as in fat.
But
That's
you just involved Optimus Prime out of the blue.
No, not out of the blue. Actually, one of my friends is nicknamed Fatima's Prime. Don't ask why.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Let's get on
The
with
more
this.
you know.
Let's get on with this before I fall asleep.
Yeah,
Okay.
shall we?
Huh?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yes. Okay, so here is the trailer for Friday the 13th, part 2.
Hello?
On a June night in 1980, Friday the 13th, 12 of her friends were murdered. Why should Friday the 13th, 1981 be any different? Friday the 13th, Part 2. The body count continues. 14.
All doomed. You're all doomed.
15.
God.
16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23.
Sandra? Jeff?
The day you count on for terror is not over. Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Five years has passed since the macabre bloodbath occurred at the now closed down summer camp, Camp Crystal Lake. Packanack Lodge, a nearby camp for counselors in training, opens up for the summer despite the chilling warnings about approaching death from the old local man Crazy Ralph. As some of the teenagers in the program start snooping around Camp Crystal Lake, they start getting killed violently, one by one. Okay, let's hear it, Angel. Your love and praise of this movie.
I don't know. I like the first one better, even if this is the first time we actually get to see Jason as an adult. It's something I always been like wondering why the fuck it is. It's like he dies, quote unquote, dies as a kid, but he comes back as a full-on grown-ass fucking man. And something me and Zombie realized while actually watching the movie and actually paying attention to the movie for once is that it kinda explain how he comes back, quote unquote, and whatnot. So that was kind of nice. It has a lot of decent kills. I like that. I like seeing death. And Scott was kind of hot, so that was good. And I mean, Muffin is Muffin. Muffin is a great dog, great actor. 10 out of 10.
Very
and-
mangled.
Yeah. It's kind of sad that Crazy Ralph dies. I mean,
Yeah.
who else is gonna greet us with "You're doomed" now? I mean, come on.
Like, they killed the best character in the movie.
Exactly. I don't know. I did like that Jason got kicked in the balls, though. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a horror movie or like big franchise movie where the killer has been kicked in the nuts before.
I think
Yeah.
Freddy gets kicked in the nuts in one of the Nightmare installments. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I have not watched a lot of horror movies, but the only other one I can recall where they have been kicked in the nuts is like this movie we three went to, where they go to this like horror amusement park.
Oh, Hellfest.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Hellfest.
right.
where
Forgot that.
he also got kicked in the nuts, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more people need to do that. It's a weak spot.
It is a weak spot. Yeah, Josef can probably confirm this.
Josef can attest.
Yeah, okay, Zombie,
Yeah.
you have never watched this movie before, so let us in on your thoughts.
Ah, shit, dude.
Ah,
Well-
shit.
I, like you, do like the first movie better, and to be honest, I wasn't really a fan of this one, like, much at all.
Controversial.
Ah, shit.
This installment is one of the most popular installments in the entire franchise, and a lot of people think this is the best one of them all, and that it is one of the best slasher movies ever made as well. But yeah,
I had a sinking feeling that that would be the case when I went through my thoughts of the movie. But, like, I personally would, like, really go back to it. And that may be because I have not watched the other, like, Friday the 13th movies in the franchise. I have only watched the first and the second, so I judge it thusly, and not based on how it connects to the rest of the series. So I take it for what it is.
Yeah, not like me and Joseph that watched it like 10 times.
Yeah. And yeah, even if it did kind of vaguely get explained how, like, he is still, like, alive and growing like some kind of weird forest spirit or whatnot, watching over Camp Crystal or Camp Blood, and but I personally wasn't really enthralled in the, like, characters, and although there was, like, one scene that I did like, it didn't really stick with me the rest of the movie, and it felt like a bit too much like the first one, but just done, like, with too much connection to, weirdly with too much connection to the first one, because it did very many things, like, they did a lot of things the same, but at the same time they did things differently. I don't know how to explain this shit. I'm rambling. Save me.
it does the same thing as the first movie did, but worse. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
I think that is what I mean. It's make it like like they're trying to make an homage to the first one, but at the same time they do nothing like special with it. They don't try and make it their own thing.
Mm.
They're very much just making a copy that is less
Yeah.
good as from the first one.
And like the first one worked the way it worked, which makes the additions they try to make weird for the movie because of how similar it otherwise is. So it just feels like you're trying to take the first one and just add some more nonsensical things to it that doesn't make sense. Because I preferred like his mother as the killer because unlike if you just take away the very ending of the first movie, it wasn't any like supernatural to it, and you didn't have to think too much of the killer, of like where he came from, how he's there at all and grown up, which does bother me about Jason.
I actually got a theory written down here, but I'll get into that a bit later on.
Yeah.
The last scene in the first one, you mean the dream sequence?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's like the only like supernatural part of the movie. Otherwise, it's very well explained, and like it's simply a murder in the end. It's nothing supernatural about it. Unlike what it feels like in the second movie, because you have grown up Jason that died at 9 years old. The fuck? So yeah. I throw the ball onto you because I don't know what else to say at the moment.
What rating are you guys giving it, by the way?
I may well be very outvoted, but for me it's currently a 4 out of 10.
Mm. Okay.
I don't know. It has some pretty good kills. But I'm gonna put it kinda low, so I'll say a 7. It's for me. It's still a decent rating. Since I'm pretty critical, but it's not up there with the top movies. It's not.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I guess I must agree with both of you, especially you, Angel. Like I said, a lot of people regards Friday the 13th Part 2 as the best of the franchise and one of the best slasher movies ever made, and I'm not one of them. I like the movie, but I don't think it's as good as a lot of other fans think it is. For example, I don't like the fact that Jason is basically a buffoon in this installment of the Friday franchise. Even to the point that it almost gets slapsticky.
Yeah.
I understand that he's supposed to be more human-like in this installment than the later sequels. And this was, of course, before he became the unstoppable killing machine that he became. But still, I feel like if it almost feels like they're trying to make fun of him towards the end of the movie. Even though I don't think it's intentional to make fun of him, but
yeah, you mean like the whole they taking off his bag over the head and stuff like that.
No. You know, when he stands on the chair and it just breaks down and he falls on the floor and he's bumbling about and you know.
Yeah.
He's just like a big clumsy buffoon. And I don't like that fact.
Yeah, and unlike many other killers, and I assume Jason later in the franchise, that they don't necessarily run after their victims. They just walk calmly and still like catches up with them. In this one, he just falls on sprinting because he can't keep up. He didn't keep up with cardio lessons.
Didn't keep up with his exercises like every other killer.
And maybe he is the way he is because he died at 9, but he kept growing, so he's got like this mental capacity of a 9-year-old in a like 40-year-old body. That's apparently decided to kill a bunch of people. Just they don't know how. And Jason thinks he's much smaller and much lighter than he is, thinking that chair can hold his tiny ass 9-year-old body. But no, it can't, because you're like 40 and a lot heavier than you were.
Wow.
But yeah, that's one of the things I don't like with the movie. Another thing I think it is kind of dull with Friday Part 2 is the killings themselves. Besides one is really good. It's actually up there with some of the best murders in the entire franchise, and that's the machete to the face. Mark gets the machete to the face.
Who is Mark again?
The guy in the wheelchair.
Ah, right.
It just comes out of nowhere, and it's actually kind of a big shock when the first time you see the movie. Because, you know, he's in a wheelchair, and you think that, you know, Jason should give him some slack. But nope.
Yeah. The one victim that can't run away from him. But nope, he just gotta.
What else is there to say? I guess it sounds like I hate the movie, but I do like the movie. But I think it's flawed, and sure, the later sequels in the Friday franchise is also flawed, but
people tend to glorify it, maybe.
They're flawed in a more entertaining way, at least for me. For example, one of the worst regarded sequels is Chapter 5 in the franchise. But that's one of my favorite moves in the entire franchise because it's just ridiculous and bonkers all the way through. And it doesn't try to be anything but a super dumb slasher movie. And that's what I love about it. But my rating will be 7 out of 10 like Angel. It's good, but it's flawed. And the flaws shows, basically.
Yeah. Well, I can mention the scene that I want to talk about, and if anyone have any other scenes, that's well mentioned. The one scene I really did like and did stick with me is the scene where I don't remember the name of the final girl, but she gets to his cabin and sees the mother's head and decide to like pretend to be her and mimic her and use like the fact that Jason was very dependent on her against him. I just really like that scene and bringing her kind of back and show her importance to Jason and how well she could manipulate him with just simple words.
Yeah, I think they mentioned during the movie that Ginny was.
He didn't have any friend, Jason, and he only had his mother.
Yeah, but I think Ginny said something about that she had gone to school for what the fuck is it called? Child psychology, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, the final confrontation is pretty exciting. I can agree with that. And the final chase scene is really good as well. Even though they portray Jesus like a clumsy buffoon.
We all gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anything else that's worth mentioning, or are you gonna... you had something that you would mention? Something that you were gonna read?
Yeah, we might as well head into that because this is kind of long. This is from a Facebook post about Friday the 13th Part 2. And I roughly translated it from Swedish to English. And this guy said, "Great movie even though the beginning is kind of weird." Which is something that I always, quote-unquote, get stuck on. I wonder how everything could have played out if they waited with including Jason until Part 3. Jason is clearly outside of Camp Crystal Lake here and is also capable to locate a person's home address and even call the same person on the phone before he, quote-unquote, stops by. Which is in itself polite of him. This is, however, a really good and genuine slasher, just like the first one, and keeps its creepiness in the best way. And I got into a discussion with one of the guys who answered this third guy. But he the first thing he wrote was, in the beginning, when Alice is speaking to her mother on the phone, she is heard saying that she had to return to the Crystal Lake area to confront her past in order to move on with her life, after which an argument ensues, so it's possible Jason wouldn't have had to track Alice at all. It wouldn't be a stretch to think that she went back to the camp itself to face her fears and Jason spotted her, then followed her back to her nearby place earlier that day. The murders were highly publicized, I imagine, as would be her quote-unquote boy in the lake story, so I could see some locals taking notice and offense of her presence at the lake, and perhaps they didn't want the attention brought back to their previously quiet little town, so she could have been receiving a lot of prank calls in an attempt to scare her away from the area, so the phone call didn't have to actually come from Jason himself. It was polite of him to remove the boiling kettle of water from the stove when it was done, however, and to properly refrigerate Mom's head while he was out and about.
He got manners at the very least, I guess.
And he continues on with another post. Jason could have never drowned and lived as a savage or survivalist type, like in the reboot, afraid to trust people after his attack. All those years, afraid to get close to people. Pamela may have suspected this and was trying to protect him by keeping them from reopening the camp. Maybe she even caught a glimpse of him upon one of her return visits, like when she was poisoning the water or setting the fires that Enos spoke of in Part 1. She says herself that he drowned, but perhaps she suspected he may survived, since nobody was recovered, and she wanted the area to remain untouched. So in a sense, she was keeping people at bay for Jason's protection, knowing he may be out there in the wild, afraid to come forward. The killings were last resort in part 1. This is where Jason witnessed her death and began his own path of vengeance. Just my thoughts. And I responded with, there could be 2 timelines, or whatever you want to call them, really. If you don't take the sequels into consideration and just go with the first movie, Jason did probably drown in the lake, and Pamela just tried to prevent the same fate happen to other children. Even though her methods were, a bit extreme. The other timeline would be your theory. What do you guys think about those theories, or whatever you want to call them?
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It does change how you view the mother in the first one, certainly,
Yeah.
if you think of the 2 different timelines.
And it would also explain
Why he's alive.
Come again?
Why he's alive.
Yeah. Even though I don't think the screenwriter took any of this into account when he was writing the script for part 2.
Yeah.
They needed a killer with connection to Camp Crystal Lake, so Jason, he's
Yeah.
alive.
But at the same time, it does not really explain his face features.
His
Then-
face feature, he's a mongoloid.
Yeah.
It's
But it's
mentioned in the first movie.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm the idiot here. Never mind. Disregard that. I said nothing. You didn't hear anything. Because I am stupid.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah.
Can't know everything.
And can't remember anything.
Bitch, you're damn right it's supposed to remember everything and know everything.
But yeah, never mind then. But yeah, it does explain, like, the second movie. How he is the way he is. But like, in the later movies, which I do not know anything of, like, is he more like this unkillable, unstoppable monster?
I don't want to spoil the later sequels for you, but he becomes that, yes, at one
Yeah.
point.
Because that's the, like, one thing I know about, like, him in the later series. And it does explain why he's still very human in this version, in the second movie.
Mm.
And it is a very sound theory, for sure.
Oh, that might actually be why we think it's a little bit less of a good movie, since we already know what's coming later on.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think that's a pretty interesting theory, that there could be 2 timelines depending on which movies you are counting in to the canon timeline.
Hmm.
I guess there's a whole lot of lore in this franchise.
Yeah, there are some. It's not very deep, but there are some at least.
Not very deep, but it's there.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's the size of a lake, but it's the depth of a puddle.
It's a depth of what?
A puddle.
Puddle?
It's the size of a lake, but it's the depth of a puddle.
Okay. Jesus. Okay. You said depth, not death.
I cannot pronounce words.
Thoughts, all of you.
What?
How dare you call me a thought?
I dare.
Oh.
I don't ever think.
Oh my god.
Do you guys have anything else to say about the movie, or should we start to round
No.
things up? Because I don't have any background, because this is one of the big ones, so...
I didn't really have anything to mention about this movie. I only had like one thought about the first one, but I don't think it's very relevant to this movie, nor its theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Should I mention it just to fill the time, or should we just call it a night?
Mention it if you want to.
Okay, fuck it. The only way I would see it is like Mommy as the killer, which I will reference her as, would have been like a more interesting killer, or just less obvious of a killer if you had seen her earlier in the movie just in passing, kind of like the way you did with Ralph, and it's true, and you just had her either in the background or just like her having saying
I actually think we discussed that when we covered the first movie.
I did think so, but I wasn't sure if I remember that. I should have watched it again.
I can't remember what we said, but I would have.
You did say a lot. That you did.
Yeah. I would have liked to seen Mrs. Voorhees in the background, at a cafe or something.
Yeah. Making her less of a random character to appear.
Yeah, less of a, guy in the box kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, boom, she's just there, she's the killer. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's kind of a sheet.
And I must say, I prefer Mrs. Voorhees.
Well,
at least in these, like, early Friday the 13th movies.
But other than that, I don't have anything to say about the second movie.
Same here.
And I've said my piece.
Okay.
Yay! Yay! Another Friday the 13th movie covered.
I guess this one is also very well known among the horror movies that is.
Yep, it is.
So there's like no extra trivia to mention, because it's been discussed to the brink
of death.
One thing you can mention is, I believe it was the anniversary of I don't remember her name, but Mrs. Voorhees' actual death, the other week, like 2-3 weeks ago or something.
Betsy Palmer's date of death.
Yeah.
Hold on, I can check.
I believe she's been.
May 29th, 2015.
Okay, that was only a few weeks ago.
Like a few months, and then you're spot on.
Fuck off. I thought it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Fucking hell.
Maybe it's another actor you're thinking of.
No, it came up on my Facebook feed.
Yeah. And it's also, maybe someone else will say it, that worth mentioning that the next movie pick is not be known.
I forgot that.
Will not be known at the end of this episode, because the person to pick the next movie is currently not in this episode.
He's still in fucking Vietnam fighting the fucking war.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, it will be a surprise for you guys.
Yeah, and a surprise for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Ooh.
Wait, what?
Cliffhanger.
Oh shit. I thought you said something completely different.
What the fuck did you think I said?
We can take that off air.
Now I want to know.
Jesus, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't want to risk it.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I can think of what you thought you heard, but I'm not sure. But yeah, anything else that should be mentioned or the outro?
No, I think we should round things up.
Yeah.
Let it go, let it go.
Yeah. we're gonna let this movie go. Okay, where the hell am I? There we go. Okay, so like Zombie said, we won't reveal the next pick on this episode because Oge isn't here and he hasn't informed any of us which pick he will do. So, and we will play out with Harry Manfredini, Keep a Cool Head, aka main title, and that's the soundtrack, one of the soundtrack songs for Friday the 13th Part 2. And Harry Manfredini did the soundtrack for most of the Friday movies as well.
I legit thought you only chose that one for Mrs. Voorhees' head.
Okay, so goodbye to the good folks then.
Bye bye.
It's a stand-up who will say goodbye first.
I'm done my piece. I'm done.
Well, I'm waiting for Angel, but thanks for listening, and we'll hopefully see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Goodbye,
Wow.
good people, and thanks for listening.